All right, and we are live and recording. Hello, gentlemen. Welcome
Hello.
to Friday Night Feels. Getting up.
Hey,
I'm still waiting for the theme song, so I'll work on that and we'll get that. So, welcome everyone to Friday Night Feels. I'm so excited tonight as I have three amazing gentlemen joining us tonight to talk about men's health issues, wellness, physical, emotional, spiritual, because I think it affects all of us, and being able to see what their experiences are in different aspects of human services. Before we get rocking and rolling, I'm just going to ask you to remember to visit my Facebook or my website so that you can join my new newsletter and join all my social media so you can keep up to date on all the new events that are going on in the community, so you can stay in the loop of all the amazing things that people in the community are doing. So tonight I have the pleasure of, first we'll go with Blaise because you are the furthest from us. So I feel like you are the honorary guest to North Country. How you doing
all
tonight?
right. All right. So my name is, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm a little worried. We got a little storm getting ready to come through here, but it's okay. I know I can go hide in my closet if I need to. And the children know what to do if something happens. So we're good. We're
All
good
right,
right now.
awesome. So, and we were just talking about this. You're outside Raleigh, North Carolina, correct?
Yes, yes. So I'm in a small town called Wendell from a smaller town called Bunn, and I am let me see if I can get all these initials right. Licensed clinical mental health counselor associate.
Ooh,
It's a mouthful.
yeah.
So and I practice at 180 counseling here in Raleigh, and I just finished my 10 consultation hours through for EMDR. So I guess I
Oh,
am now a EMDR trained therapist. Yes, sir.
congratulations.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
That's really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, and then we have Adam from what I call, and I'm sure Jamie will chime in, Chatham proper downstate. So we're moving on up. How are you doing tonight, Adam?
I'm doing well, and it's Chatham proper, New York.
Chatham proper, yeah, that's
There
right.
are other Chathams in the world, so
And that's about an hour. I kind of blocked it out from the last road trip. That's about an hour away from Albany, right?
you can go in a half an hour towards the
Okay.
Mass border. Yeah.
All right. And you have a beautiful retreat center at your home where you were doing different workshops and different things. I mean, I know the pandemic probably affected that, but
It did, but no, we're still rocking and rolling. We're actually we can do a lot of things outside since we have the land for it. So we're looking to still do some things outside and bring that aspect of nature to this, which is pretty cool.
mm,
Yeah, it's a private practice, and we do trainings. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and KSAC, substance abuse counselor, and own a private practice with my wife, and do training in EMDR and focusing on addiction and trauma association. Um, yeah,
just a few things.
just a couple.
Just a thing. I mean, like, what more do you need? Chatham proper, get it together. You have someone. Reach out to them. And then my neighbor, because I'm in Plattsburgh, is Casey. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm not from anywhere near as exotic as the other folks, I guess.
Listen, are you
No.
from the North Country?
I grew up in Beekmantown.
Okay, listen, we got a lot of things here. We have, we got Michigans. We got a lot of good things going for us in the North Country.
That's true. Yeah.
Have you guys ever heard of Michigans?
That's the first for me.
All right, I'll send you. It's like a North Country thing. So it's kind of like
Okay.
some people will relate it to, like a, I don't know, like a sloppy dog. What is that thing? Sloppy dog.
It's a boiled hot dog with a meat sauce.
Yeah,
Is
but
what
it's
it is.
like
Sloppy Joe.
sloppy dough. There we go.
Yeah.
But listen, it's Friday night. It's filter free. It's been a long week. I don't really know. But one of the things that's, it's one of those things. I mean, apparently, Casey, you don't really like them because you didn't sound enthusiastic. But they're like when I was growing up, it's like where you go to a family barbecue and every family has their own recipe and stuff like that. So it's just kind of one of those fun things. And can you share with us a little bit, Casey, of your role in what you do in the community?
Yeah, so I'm on the education and outreach team at Planned Parenthood. So I'm one of our three external affairs folks. So I work out of our Plattsburgh Health Center, but I cover Clinton and Essex counties.
Okay, that's awesome.
So we do in-school education, we do community-based education, we do meetings with other providers to work on networking and referrals and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I'm so thankful that you were all able to be here. I know that you're all really busy, and we've been forewarned we might have some little visitors on Blaise's and Adam's family on the side. So we'll just have some rogue agents who might just come in and share their experiences with life and their insight, because they're usually smarter than adults, I find. So, and once again, thank you for joining us tonight. Yeah, right. I mean, a child will lead them. I can't even. And then we got a couple people saying, Paula, Jen, and Jamie are all saying hello, and what a handsome panel. And then Jamie's asking, what's trauma? Oh, Jamie. I was waiting for that.
Everything is trauma. Everything is trauma.
Yeah. So, you know, one of the things that I wanted to do, like with the men's group, is because I think in the last couple of years, I've been seeing this amazing revolution in being able to talk about gender identity, gender stereotypes. And I think being in the healthcare in different ways, whether, you know, Planned Parenthood therapy, trainings, you know, my experience is it's just coming to a whole new world. And when I was teaching at the local university, or when I'm working with clients, it's really amazing to me how important men's issues really are as part of a whole. And it's funny because Casey, my first office in Plattsburgh was actually right next to Planned Parenthood. And one of the things that I used to find that I was surprised on with men specifically was really a lack of education in sex education. And I don't know, you know, with anyone else's experiences, but it's one of those things, what I've been seeing, there's this video I show my clients a lot. It's called the Man Box. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It's a really interesting video. It's and I can send it to you. Yeah, it's the Man Box. Oh, I know. Adam, Jamie's going to teach us the dance. Yes. Little box, big So, I know. I mean, and right now it's like we got the mask. We got the mask. We got the mask.
Ooh.
But what the video talks about, and this gentleman, his name's Tony Porter. I believe he's from the Bronx, and he's just talking about the socialization of men and how men, you know, getting to my point, is how men are supposed to behave. And the man box is kind of like we're born and we're raised, and even if the messages are overt or loud or covert and really quiet, most of us grow up with this definition of what it means to be a man. And being able to look at that, I see the last few years, there's really a challenge of, it blends into that, the philosophy of toxic masculinity. And one of the things that I've been seeing is there are the people who are intrigued about that and who say, yeah, there's that toxic masculinity, but then there's that resistance to being able to explore what that means. But if you really look at it, the shitty part of toxic masculinity is that man box, which when you look at it, it's saying in order to be a man, a masculine man, you have to be tough, you have to be strong, you have to never cry, you can show anger, but you can't show sadness. You have to be sexual dominant. You have to know everything. You have to be able to all of these really, really rigid. You know, you have to be straight. You have to do all of these different things. And if you don't follow in those characteristics, your man card all of a sudden is challenged. One of the things too in the video, if you see it, it's funny. He says, you know, we're never supposed to talk about sex, but we're supposed to know how to have sex all the time, and we're supposed to act like we've been having sex since we're 2 years old. And I thought that was so true of, yeah, like, I mean, one of the questions that, I was looking at is, who taught you about sexuality as a guy? So I know, so we can get to that. I know we have a lot to cover. So that was just kind of, what are your experiences with that definition of what it means to be a man and how that affects you as professionals and as personal people who have to deal with that? Do you fit into the man box? I know. Right?
Let me see. Y'all want to rock, paper, scissors for this one? I think for me, it's a really interesting question. I think it's really hard to decide if I do or not. Being a black male raised by women, you know, my whole life. So I'm expected to take care of a household. That's what I was taught. Take care of a household, do what I got to do, protect my family, all of those things. But I was never taught, you know, things like how, I guess what men are supposed to know. I don't know how to work on cars. I could care less about working on cars and know how to do that stuff. I didn't learn how to build anything until I graduated college, and I worked with Habitat for Humanity, building houses and all that stuff. I ain't never used a chainsaw until I joined the fire department. I never had to.
Right.
Those are the things. I grew up in a trailer park, you know, so I had to know how to, one, protect myself. I had to learn how to fight, even though I got beat up a lot. I had to learn how to fight. But I was also expected to look after my brothers, my sisters, and my cousins who were around there. And I was also I was a latchkey kid, and we were latchkey kids, so I had to take care of my folks, my kids, and my brothers, sisters, and cousins. While my grandma was working, while they was doing all those things. But I also had to avoid drugs and alcohol and stuff that was around the area that was going on. So I might not be the manly man that people are expecting me to be, but I'm the type of man that knows how to take care of my family, even though I didn't have an example of what a father should be. That makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. How about you guys, Casey and Adam? How are your experiences about like your messages of what it means to be a man growing up?
Yeah, I think so it's a weird kind of status, right? Because I guess the way I see it is like the status of a man is a thing that not only do you have to achieve, you then have to maintain.
Right.
It's not like, here's your paper, you're good, you're set.
Right.
No.
Your man card. It can't be. You got to maintain it. It can be revoked.
Right. Or like it expires after, you know, X amount of time or whatever. And I don't know that a lot of other statuses are like that. You know, usually it's either ascribed or it's earned, but once it's earned, it's earned. You know, It doesn't have to be continually kind of sculpted and looked after to make sure it, you know, it's not falling apart.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, for me, I feel like, you know, with all good intentions, from like a historical perspective, we're trying to pass down some type of, you know, image of what men is. And from a historical perspective, there's like, you know, the great men of history kind of lineage of warriors and leaders and stuff like that. And, you know, this, with all good intentions, I think, you know, parents don't want kids to be the runt of the litter or be picked on or have to go through those things. So there's certain things implied. And I remember my dad, I have an older sister, and I remember my dad saying, you know, comes an age where like you can't hit on your sister. You're going to be bigger, and you have to learn now that, you know, that you have, you know, this physical strength that is going to be a power and an asset. And, you know, and it also, you know, can do great damage. And, you know, the implied messages for me was really confusing growing up. And developmentally, we know we don't have the capacity to have both, like, you know, the gray area in between when we don't have abstract thinking, but we're definitely fed a lot of messages. And, you know, I think it goes to cultural biases and, you know, man box and, you know, these things are, you know, until you start deconstructing, you know, what it is to be a man, you kind of fall victim to those those implicit messages that you got, you carry them through and you pass them on.
Right.
You know, this is much bigger than us. But I'm glad we're, as a culture and a society, talking more about it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, you know, being able to look how it, you know, when we're talking about toxic masculinity, there's that belief of you're trying to make us less men, you're trying to feminize us, you're trying to demonize us, you're trying to, and you know, it's such a fear reaction, in my opinion, of no, it's actually pretty destructive. Because one of the things that I've seen in my research is, I was looking at this book once where it was focusing on men and midlife crises, where men tend to have more midlife crises than women. And what the theory was men are taught their whole life to suppress their emotions and to do kind of like what you were saying, Blaise, like, I'm supposed to be the provider, I'm the protector, I have these roles, I'm going to do these obligations, and then I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be good, I'm going to feel fulfilled. And then they have a heart attack or a crisis, or they're the 50th birthday and they have that crisis of, holy shit, I've lived my whole life doing for others. And then they throw the wife and the kids out and they get a younger car and all these things. But the whole philosophy is because if men were taught how to deal with their emotions, it would prevent a whole barrel of monkeys of problems.
Yeah, but what just stood out to me for that one, yeah, if we were taught that and if we actually expressed that, especially as young, we'd be called a bitch. And that's, you know, and that's the thing, is just like, yeah, if I express my emotions, if I show, if I'm upset, or if, you know, I'm crying, the first thing that they'll tell you to do is man up. Quit being a bitch, step up and do what the hell you're supposed to do.
Right.
But, and so that's what we do. We wipe it up, we wipe it off, and we do what we're supposed to do, and we end up just pushing that shit straight all the way down. And then what happens? It erupts. Yep. Then we're angry. Well, why didn't you talk to me about this? Why didn't you tell me about this? Why didn't you say something before instead of just explode at the last minute? You told me to man up. You told me to suck it up and move on.
Yeah. And the other thing too I hear a lot is not just be a bitch, but also your sexuality is questioned. Like, oh, you cried, so you must be gay. Or like, for example, you know, you have long hair, so you must be gay. You know, it's like all these ridiculous stereotypes. It's like, no, I just like long hair, or no, I just cry. Like, it's a natural reaction. But it's all of a sudden, it's like we go for that viciousness of, I'm going to rip that man card, that certificate away and prove that I'm better than you.
Yeah.
And kind of dominate you. It's like, well, we're not in the wolf pack anymore, guys. But, you know, when you're still, like a couple of you were talking about having kids, not only do you have to worry about that for yourselves, but also how do you not carry that on to your kids in a world where other people aren't having the same discussions? My hat goes off to you. I have a dog, and that's enough to maintain. I don't know, like, I joke with my friends that I'm glad I don't have kids, because I would be arrested for like going after that kid that bullies my kid. Like, I wouldn't have that skill very well to tolerate that, because I know what it's like to be bullied. It's, you know, it's that. And then also, not only is it pushing down, and maybe you guys have different experiences, but it really is a breeding ground for that awful shame that's so destructive. Mm-hmm. So these people, like, I'm the youngest of a large family, and there were those implicit messages like, guys do this, girls don't do this, you know, all of these things. So when I want to do something that was quote unquote unmasculine, it made me feel like something must be wrong with me. Something must be wrong because I want to do what a girl wants to do, which also shows that message that something's wrong with wanting to be like a girl. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I had to shake it out. Just make it mad.
Hey, if we need to do, Jamie's watching. If we need to dance it out,
I had to let it go for a minute, man. It just pissed me off.
Yeah.
As a dad. And so, yeah. Ugh.
And then it's really interesting, you know, because I also work with couples. So a lot of times I see it where stereotypical male and female will come in, and they'll say, you know, the woman will say, it's like, well, he doesn't have any emotions. He doesn't talk about his feelings at all. And then when he tries to, he's told why he's wrong. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
you want me to have your emotions and be the way you are, but when I try to have mine, once again, don't be a bitch, shut it down. If not, this isn't going to work.
But it's hard to find that balance, though, you know. And I think so many of us are afraid to. I think so many men are afraid to do it just for that very reason. And I think we want to open up to some people, but we're afraid of how they'll react to us being, you know, being vulnerable. Mm-hmm. You know, we have to show that we don't have any chinks in our armor. We don't, you know, we're supposed to be the tough guy at all times. Right. And it's, you know, once you're vulnerable, then you don't know if somebody's going to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
You know, you got to have that. You got to have that trust. You got to have that. I don't know. You gotta have that person that's going to actually let you be emotional. That's going to let you be vulnerable. It's going to accept it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that speaks to, you know, mentors and, you know, forefathers, so to speak, of, you know, having men's groups or having men's culture, you know, some type of, you know, traditions that I think are lacking in American society. I think, you know, we borrow from cultures that we either come from or ascribe to, but the rite of passages of, I think, is lacking in what it means to carry forth a tradition of, you know, honor or, you know, respect, and like common decency. And like, you know, I kind of disagree with you, Patrick, that, you know, that we don't live in, you said a barrel of monkeys, which I was still trying to figure out what that was. But you said something along the lines of, you know, we're not Neanderthals, or we don't live in that, but we very much do. You know, that there is alpha males, there is that culture still prevalent, and we haven't worked as a society past, haven't matured out of it. And when you know, my bachelor's in history, so I automatically go to history, and I don't know when the previous generation weren't traumatized parents raising kids who were traumatized by their own parents. We haven't broken cycles to the degree at which we really could know a maturity, except for maybe, you know, some few people get through and, you know, break through it and write books, and they move the culture forward. But I think most people are stuck in their trauma.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to go back because I don't remember what the barrel of monkeys referral was too, so I can't say that. But we'll go with that. Of being able to look at, I think it's true of what we're dealing with. It's so difficult. Casey, you were going to say something, or what are your experiences with this?
Yeah. So Adam, you just said something. You were talking about rites of passage, and so I have an anthropology degree. So now I'm going to pull my background in here.
Giddy up, guys. Giddy up.
Well, that got me thinking.
I love this.
It is interesting going back to like, what does this status mean? There's not really, like, when do you earn it? You know, like if you look at a lot of different cultures and different societies, you have that rite of passage, right? You go on your vision quest, or you know, do whatever the thing is, and then you come back, and now you have this status, you know, you are an adult member of this group, or you are a man or a woman or whatever. And we don't really have that. Like, is it the day you turn 18? Is it the day you can drive? Is it the day you move out of your parents' house? Is it the day you're financially independent? Is it when you finish your education, if that's what you're doing? Like, and that's kind of the question, is like, okay, you want me to be this thing, and apparently it's very important that I be this thing, but there's no feedback and there's no like direction. And I think that causes some kind of like weird like psychosocial problems, because you know, you put a demand on someone but you don't tell them how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so people just get kind of left like in the middle.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I would agree with that.
It's made me think about something though. You said, you know, we don't have a rite of passage. Like, what is it? But also, it got me something to thinking about what Adam said too. Is just like, you know, we're still stuck in our traumas and everything. And I'm trying to figure out, is that rite of passage? Because I'm thinking about like, I'm going back to my childhood, what it was like. When do you become a man, Blaise? When do you do that? And a lot of my friends back then will be when you have sex for the first time. That's when you become a man. When you can have your own, you don't have to live at home anymore. That's when you become a man. When you are married, that's when you become a man. Those are the things that go through my head that I've kind of been taught and that I've been experienced as when you are a man. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was normal, you know, for the longest time. But it's like we don't know, because what makes us a man has changed so much. And it's not the same. It's not the same. What makes me a man is not going to make the same thing as Adam. It's going to make Adam a man. It's not going to make Casey a man. It's not going to make you a man. Right. You know what I mean? It's different. I think it depends on the person, mm-hmm. and how you feel, and what does a man represent to you.
Yeah, I think growing up, I had a similar list of what I was taught of what it means to be a man, and then somehow I didn't fulfill that. So there was that seed of, once again, going back to that belief of something must be wrong with me if I'm not fulfilling this. Like, am I, that was just my process of, if I'm not doing these things, if I don't want these things, does that disqualify me from being a man? I don't think in my family there was ever that. It was more about maturity and healthy than the term of like whether you were a man or not. But I think just in circles and in situations, there is definite expectations growing up of you were either a good man or you weren't, or, there was just definitely a lot of messages. If you didn't fit in, you didn't fit in. And, the one thing that they would go after, at least in my experiences, would be, someone's sexuality, some, different things like that. That would be the first like attack that I would see, the strategy that I would see. That was, one of the one of the biggest insults growing up, like, would be that if you were gay or if you weren't straight, like that was definitely something that you didn't want to be associated with, which is even worse, because if you are, then it's showing up that belief of, well, if they're saying that, what does that mean? Mm-hmm. And Kenny's sharing with us, he said, yes, it's an individual experience to be or become a man. And then Elizabeth is sharing with us that she's loving the different perspectives, sociologically, anthropologically, so relevant to understand these phenomena. Like, I really think we like have our own TV show right now here, guys, like with all of our backgrounds. I mean, I think Oprah is going to be calling us, or someone with money. I don't know. Because I mean, I'm ready. My phone's here. I'll answer. I'll organize it. And and whether I think sometimes too, like for myself, of one of the things that I experience, especially being in the mental health field, is when you are struggling with mental health, when you're struggling with mental illness, when you're hit, whether it's addiction, whether it's anxiety, depression, PTSD, trauma, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, all of these different things of, if I have one of these issues, if I struggle with this, does that challenge my identity as a man? And I've seen that personally, where it's hurt my own self-esteem and my vision as a man, and I see it time and time again with clients. So I don't know what you guys see with different things like that, if you see any issues like that at all, like that you see in your male clients or anything like that.
I definitely think clients fall victim to the man box, and I don't know. I still feel grateful for having an older sister that really didn't typecast me into that role. And we had neighborhood kids that there was an expectation of kind of boys just go out and play, and that was all right, and kind of explore. And when I talked to my wife, who had all brothers, there was a implied message that she doesn't do things. And I have my stepson is going to be turning 18, and I look at what we're prescribing the next generation as, like, with some of the brain science coming out. I'm so grateful for it, because when I was turned 18, there was this idea that you were an adult now, and that to me is so much not defined, either. And then biologically, we see we don't have the full capacity to make some of these decisions until we're 25. So I just really see a backwardsness to our approach, and it makes sense, because I feel like, people were, raising kids in traumatized times, and when was there not a war
Right.
somewhere on the planet? And so I don't know, I think we're really on the precipice of having some really great conversations, and it has to turn into action. And I raised my son, my 5-year-old, hopefully different, and check my biases, and my wife and I check each other, because we have a daughter as well. And I think that there's toxic femininity too. I think that it's toxic humans, that there's and it, to me, it's rooted in the fears that we have, and we fear what we don't know. And a lot of the clients that I have, really male clients, don't feel that they can talk about it, but when it's one-on-one, they do. And it's, we can consider it courageous, but I just consider it to be like, good. You're finally talking about it. There's a space that you feel comfortable to do that. And the more we have those, the more we'll be real.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really cool. Lucky 5 little year olds. He's being raised with some love. He'll be a powerhouse. I've met him, so I know he's going to be a powerhouse. And Casey, one of the things too, like I was saying, because your area is a little bit different than counseling, is what kind of, and you do a lot of outreach education, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
So what kind of things do you see that guys struggle with, or that they don't even know is something, that could affect them?
I mean, the big one, specifically with Planned Parenthood, is they don't know that they can even come in for service. Like right off the bat, a lot of times we don't think that everyone has a reproductive system, and sometimes those systems have problems, and there are places you can go to get that taken care of. Like, and for me, especially being one of 4, I think there's 4 guys on our staff total out of probably 60, 70 something people.
Oh.
So, like, that's something that I've always tried to remind, even like our folks internally, like, it's not women's healthcare, it's healthcare that maybe, like we were talking about before, maybe it's more often accessed by women, but it's not women's healthcare, it's healthcare.
Right. That's a really
good
point.
So that's, I think, the big one. But I guess there's also a stigma with especially like STIs, STDs, because it then reflects on things like virility.
Mm.
And, you know, like biologically, that's the only thing we're here to do, right? You take care of that,
Right.
and then nature has no use for you after that, essentially.
Right.
You've done your job, right?
Right.
And I think somewhere like innately that's still there, whether or not we kind of acknowledge it, like it has to be. And so any kind of like issues in that realm, I think it's easy to have those or view those as a reflection of, oh, my one purpose I can't now accomplish.
Yeah.
Like the one thing that I'm supposed to do, you know.
I was really, one of the things what I loved about having my office near Planned Parenthood was it was such a great referral source because I could say, you know, like right next door, because I would, you know, I would see those guys kind of like what Adam was talking about, like, you know, you develop that relationship and they start, you know, guys would start talking about things, and I would be working with adult men who had never had a role model or a mentor or someone healthy to say, hey, I don't know what this means, or I don't really know what safe sex is, or, you know, I read on the internet that if you do this or that, you know, really putting themselves at risk and their partners, and then being able to know, hey, there's you know, someone who specializes in this right next door. Let's go. I mean, because I know it's hard with COVID, but I remember you guys always had such great resources in pamphlets that people could just go in and kind of like digest it on their own, which is really, I felt really great to our community. But going into, and Kenny wrote in, saying, you know, at the same time, there's always someone telling people how to be men. Like, there's no book, and I definitely agree with that. Of just, you know, once again, we're supposed to come out of the womb knowing these things, and you know, some of the stuff too, and maybe Casey has seen it, of some things that men can go through with their bodies that they don't even know they can. Like, you know, I don't know. I can't even take an example right now. Like, you know, I don't want to say erectile dysfunction, but just like different, you know, if you get skin issues, or is it an STD? Is it not? Is it an ingrown, you know, that fear of how do I take care of myself? And just kind of that, I'm going to, on a wish and a prayer, I'm going to put some, you know, rubbing alcohol on it and hope everything like wakes up okay.
Yeah, don't.
Rubbing alcohol?
Listen, I use essential oils in my office. I couldn't think of another example.
You will burn so bad.
Yeah.
Well, we still know they're alive. I mean, it's better than lavender.
Right, but so that's, I always bring that up when I do education, because that's a thing. Like high school kids will, you know, they'll laugh at anything, but I'm like, I always tell them, I'm serious. Folks do, like, they use alcohol or they use like gasoline or Raid or whatever or Nair. Like, don't do that, because now you've got chemical burns in addition to whatever else was wrong. Like,
Yeah.
but that's another one of those things. Like, oh, I can't make a visit. I got to figure this out for myself because I'm a smart, independent man. Well, sometimes it doesn't work out as well as you hope it will.
Yeah. Or like in my big fat Greek wedding, putting Windex and everything, because it seemed to work for him. You know, like that's a little better than rubbing alcohol, Blaise. How about that?
Yeah, I like that. It doesn't hurt as bad.
You know, and you know, one of the things too that Adam, you know, I wanted to go back to when you were saying like with men's group is I don't know if you guys are seeing that, but I'm definitely seeing a lot more men's group, especially with COVID. I'm seeing a lot more, especially on Instagram, these really great groups of, you know, all over, even like I've been seeing a lot of them in Europe for some reason and across the States where, you know, they'll do like Zoom parties once a week or something of just being able to talk about trivia. It's really kind of cool. Just like all these different connections and to be able to connect and learn also how to have healthy relationship with other guys. And then, you know, internally with yourself of, hey, you know, I've known people who say, I don't know how to have friends. Like I can be a good partner, and I know how to, you know, I take care of my kids or my family, but I don't have any friends, or I don't know how to have friends. Something different, you know, to look at of, you know, how do they, maybe that's one of the other questions that I see too is, where did you learn how to develop friendships as a guy?
Sport.
Yeah, sports.
But not necessarily know how to maintain them, you know.
Create them.
You know, definitely how to, like, you know, play, but not necessarily how to maintain and be, again, respectful. Or, you know, I see my son, and, you know, he's not getting his way, and he'll get upset, and he'll, you know, say, I want this person to leave and I hate them. And, you know, and it's really about, like, you know, them taking his toy or something like that. And, you know, and it's like, I don't know, it's an opportunity to educate, but he still goes through that, you know, this is mine. You know, if he knew swear words, he would swear at them. I know. Right. I can see that look. So, but yeah, how to maintain it, you know, that's always interesting to me.
Yeah. What about you, gentlemen? Do you ever have any experiences like that of how to learn how to develop or maintain friendships?
It came pretty natural for me. I've always been the person that's, I don't know. It's like I don't know any strangers, you know. So I will go out, and I'm always the person that people want to talk to, want to hang out with, want to be around, you know, because I have a way of making people feel happy and smile and be positive, because that's the kind of thing that I try to portray. Unfortunately, that was a big part of my mask too. So they kept my mask, you know, when I was feeling bad, because I was always had this big old smile on my face. You know, it was easy for me to hide behind it because people didn't expect it. I think as an adult now, it's a little bit more difficult to maintain friendships because we all have our own shit going on. Right. And whether we're, you know, divorced or married, or, you know, with kids and no kids, or in work and whatever, you know, it's tough to maintain those friendships with your guys, or even with your girls, doing whatever, just, you know, just shooting the shit whenever, you know, and trying to do it in a way that you won't feel like it's forced. You know? But I think sometimes we try to force it, oh, you need to be around more people. Okay. But it needs to be, you know, just let it flow. Natural. Let it flow, or let it be natural, and just, you know, don't be like, you know, hey.
He does the next dance steps. Blaise, you're doing all the dance steps tonight.
I got to get the stuff out, man. You know, it's trying to keep my stuff, you know,
in balance.
And yeah, natural with it.
Are you a water sign? Are you a water sign?
I think Earth. I'm Earth.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm Earth. I think that's right. Don't make me quote it though.
Listen, I'll research. I'll get back to you for next time.
Yeah. All right.
Casey, what about for you? Do you ever have those challenges as being an adult and maintaining friendships?
Yeah, I think what I noticed, I'm sure it's generational too, because like my mom always says that they can't go anywhere because my dad knows everybody. So they all, like, everywhere they go, they got to stop because he knows so-and-so from 35 years ago or whatever. And I think for especially people like my age and younger, you have like your school friends who you think are your friends, and then you graduate and that's it, right? That's it. And then you realize, oh, maybe I only liked these people because I was with them 8 hours a day for 12 years or whatever, however long it is. And so I don't know that this is another one of those things, like we don't learn how to do it. You're thrown in a room with a bunch of people and almost out of survival, you just get along because you're stuck together, you know? And then, you know, you leave that bubble and you, in theory, become a functional adult, and with other, in theory, functional adults together. And maybe everyone's learning that at the same time, which I would hope. But yeah, like we don't get taught how to do that. And maybe you can't be taught how to do that on some level.
I don't know. I think that's kind of what like tonight's about, is exploring those and opening those doors to figure out if we're not doing it, what are we missing? What link do we need? And for the people, I mean, because we're all in different areas and different specialties of, you know, I think in some way it's when you're learning how to have a healthier relationship with yourself, that naturally is going to blossom into healthier and more solidified relationship with others. Just in my experiences. I just want to share with you, Amy wrote in and she said, as a mother of a boy, I strive to teach kindness, being open with feelings, and that it's okay to cry. Unfortunately, he gets a different message from friends and society in general. And I think that goes along exactly with what we're talking about.
Yep. I have a son and a daughter. And so it's like, okay, I have to teach my son how to, you know, how to defend himself, I teach him to look after his sister. You know, it's okay for you to let your feelings out if you need to. But I'm teaching her, okay, you can do this. And I'm teaching her to defend herself too. And don't let nobody ever do this stuff to you. And I was like, but how do I teach him how to talk to other folks and teach her that she don't need these other folks to do all this stuff too? And it's just like, you know, and it's just like, it's a really delicate dance. It's a delicate dance, but I think like she said she teaches kindness and it's okay to cry. And I'm teaching both of them the same way. But I teach them both. Everybody get one freebie. You can turn the cheek one time. That's it. But after that, you got my permission to whoop their damn ass. And that's it. And we will take a suspension. So we will take a suspension. You will not get in trouble with your mother.
The right to defend oneself. I mean, a couple of people were just sharing their experiences. Jennifer is sharing, I think you can be taught. Opportunity leads to experience. And Kenny is sharing his experience of the failure to work with emotions as a man, boy, is, I think, the root of insecurities. Men are taught not to use emotions when we feel scared or sad. It can get hairy sometimes, every time. And I think for a lot of people, that is true. It can be really, you know, you got these things going on and we think, I see it a lot too in my experiences where, especially guys, they think their emotions are like some sort of fungus that they have to cut off. Like, I'm feeling insecure, I'm feeling worried, I'm feeling anxious, get rid of it, cut it off. But when they actually learn how to have a healthier relationship with their emotions, it's like, all right, we can put this in balance. Let's figure out that these emotions aren't actually enemies.
Right. I think it's more, I agree that it can be taught that, you know, that we can let these emotions, but I think we need permission.
What do you mean?
Like, we need permission to let, you know, I think we as men need to be known that it's okay for us to talk about it. Like, for instance, I've been in the fire service for 14 years, right? And I went through bouts of depression and, you know, a couple of suicide attempts, and I got the help that I needed. And I'm using what I went through. That's what got me into therapy. Mm-hmm. So, but what I did was I shared my story with my department, which was 700 deep at the time. And after I shared my story, so many people came to started talking to me and DMing me and hit me up. Hey, man, I was going through the same thing, and it was great that you did it. And I'm glad you said it because I was doing the same thing. And when I went to a different department, I shared my same story with another 150. Same thing happened. Man, I'm glad that you said that. I've been experiencing that. I need to deal with it.
Wow.
So it's kind of like when somebody can, like, it's kind of like the floodgates kind of open to say, okay, this guy has been through it. He's where I am. He's saying it. It's okay for me to say it too. It's okay for me to let it out too. You know? And I think that's what a lot of men need. somebody in their circle, somebody that they're close to, who's been through it and who's experienced it, and then they can do the same thing. I think it made me look stronger.
Right.
You know, and that's what men are supposed to be, right? Strong.
And normalizes it too. It's
Exactly.
not like this foreign thing that can never affect us. It can affect any of us.
Right.
I think I was seeing some statistic, I don't remember where it was, where about like 76% of people that attempt suicide are males.
Yeah.
Which is really concerning of, when going back to when, what are the dangers of men not being able to talk to their feelings of the addiction, anxiety, depression, and a higher rate of suicidality. It's really scary. I think one thing, and I don't know if maybe with your experiences, but I think almost during the pandemic, it's opened up a lot of doors for people to get more services than maybe before. I'm seeing, especially for people who may have been embarrassed, even, I think in all different experiences, that I don't want to go into that office and be known that I'm going for therapy, or I don't want to be seen, where I know I don't want to be called the crazy one, but now they can get help in their office, in their car, in their bedroom, they're going to a meeting, they can dial into a session, and I'm seeing more opportunities for therapy of, more not social media, but more technology being able to use, so it's easier to get accessible healthcare. I don't know if any of you are seeing that in different ways.
Yeah, we definitely are. So we were slowly rolling out telehealth at the start of the year, and then suddenly we had to just pull the trigger and go for it.
Right.
And I don't know that we're seeing more men, but I do know that we're seeing more new people that we haven't seen before. I don't know how it's breaking down or anything. But it's been especially good for us in terms of access, because we cover a 6-county area. So from here all the way over to Watertown, we cover. And, if you're from around here, you know that there's a lot of nothing in between the little towns. So we're able to, to get service to folks who live in, I don't know, like Nickelville or something, where there's like 4 people and a cow. Those people, regardless of man, woman, whatever, are able to access service, which has been helpful. I think we would rather have done it under different circumstances, but it was a good kind of trial by fire, I guess, to see how this stuff works.
Yeah, if this hadn't happened, I don't know if I ever would have done telehealth. It wasn't in my purview at all.
Well, for me, I think there's 2 challenges. One, that, when domestic violence is on the rise, as much as this stay at home has created, I think necessity, and I think even, there's been, at least in my practice, been an upswing in, couples work, but also job related stuff. And I work and have worked with EAP models, and the EAP model is interesting because they don't diagnose you, and it's okay to go to those things. But I know people, probably more manly industries, they're worried about getting a diagnosis and not going in to get services.
Yeah.
Because even if they ever have, if they want a pistol permit or something like that down the road, and they have any of that thing, that this, there's such a systematic level to this. And, I think with the shutdown, guys having to be at home, it shook some things out. And I think people are coming to services, and I think there's a generational thing. I think a lot of the younger guys are able to talk about it. And I kind of banter and kind of joke with some of my clients. I'm like, you don't have a problem talking about your feelings. I mean, when you were courting your wife, you had no problem talking about your feelings.
I love that. I'm going to use that. That's awesome.
So, you just got to get the right motivation. But yeah, that's been my experience.
Yeah.
I'm doing part-time therapy. So I have 11 clients, 10 of them are men, 5 of them are African-American men. So it's going pretty well. And they're opening it up because I talk to them like I talk to y'all. They don't want, so how does that make you feel?
Right.
So, and they appreciate the realness. They appreciate the realness, and it's allowing them to open up more. And I'm hearing things that they don't feel comfortable talking to anybody about, but they're doing the work, and they keep coming back, and they want to continue to do the work, and I'm ecstatic about it. And I think, like you said, they don't have a problem talking about feelings. They don't have a problem talking about feelings. They just need somebody who they can relate to, who they feel will relate to them. And it's not going to judge them. And it's not going to put them in a box. It's not going to put them in that man box.
Right.
Whatever they
break them free. Break them free.
So let's go out. Let's do it all.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. So they just come in, they let it out, and we do our thing.
Yeah.
I love it.
That was one of the blessings of the pandemic, is going online. Is I started doing a men's weekly group, and it's probably like one of my favorite groups, because it is that, like, it just, it's just really cool to see people connect and talk about, also have a safe place to talk about the stress of the pandemic and how it's affecting all of their lives and their families and their relationships. And, just knowing, every week we kind of look forward to, like, hey, how was your week? Or how'd that job interview go? Or how did that, how'd that discussion go with your friend? It's really, really cool. I feel really honored with the people I work with. Because one of the things I love about therapy is, no matter, as a therapist, how much we know, our clients are constantly teaching us and helping us grow. All right, gentlemen, we are unfortunately out of time for tonight. So I just want to say once again, thank you so much I think you just raised the bar of the quality of Friday Night Feels. I don't know if I can ever go back. So I definitely hope that you guys can join us sometime in the future. And thank you for all of the work that you're doing in all of your areas. Like, people are really lucky to have you in their fields.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks, man. Thanks for doing this, man. This is awesome. This is great.
I hope you guys stay safe and have an amazing weekend.
You guys too. Take it easy.
All right, take it easy.
All right.